Trust. Trust. Big topic. Everybody's talking about it. Um, shouldn't say everybody. Maybe more people could be talking about it. But it's a big topic. It's out there. And yet, it's such a nebulous thing to grab, to understand, to know how do you increase trust, how do you decrease trust. Well, I came across a quote this morning which really kind of followed me through the day. So I thought, well, let's riff on this for a few minutes and see what's here. It's a Simon Sinek quote, and it's, "We don't trust people to follow the rules. We trust people to know when to break them." And I've been thinking about that all day. And when it comes to people following the rules, and even if you'd say, yeah, I trust them to follow the rules, it's a fairly shallow form of trust. Because the rules are there, they create boundaries, they create structure, they create process. And I'm not saying rules are a bad thing by any stretch, right? We need rules. They establish boundaries. Within companies that create common approaches and ideas and expectations. But when it comes to trust, do you trust people to know when to break the rules? You know, I'm thinking back to, oh wow, this is going back 8 years, when our previous dog, we have a puppy now, and we have an 8-year-old. So the one before that, I was up in Ottawa. I got a phone call early in the morning from the family, and our 7-year-old golden retriever Hunter had suddenly fallen over and died of a heart attack. And I've talked about this a lot over the years, but I haven't thought of it from this perspective. And here's the thing. When I got to the airport, long story short, I jumped online and bought a ticket on WestJet to get from Ottawa back to Toronto. But it was going to be hours. I think it was 2.5 hours until that flight. So when I walked into the airport, one of the ticket agents came out from behind the counter. I'm thinking she spotted me. I probably looked like a mess, right? Because I'd been crying and such. But she spotted me and she came to me. And she asked if I was okay. I told her our family dog had just died. And she gave me a great big hug. And then she said, "How can I help? What do you need?" And I said, "I've got a ticket on the 10:30 flight. I just need to get to Toronto as fast as possible." She says, "Come with me, because you're going to be on the 8:20. It was like 15 minutes from when I walked in the airport. Now, if you do any amount of travel, you know from the point you walk into the airport to being on a flight 20 minutes later is next to impossible. But she took me to the front, phoned the gate, said, "Hold the plane. We have a family emergency coming." Reticketed me, then took me up to the front of the security line and sent me on my way with another hug. What rules did she break in there? Maybe some, maybe none. I can't know for certain, right? However, it broke the rules that I'm normally used to. Get onto the airplane, we get up in the air. The one flight attendant, I think his name was Dan, if I'm not mistaken. The one flight attendant sat down with me. It's a really short flight. It's only a 45-minute hop from Ottawa to Toronto. So, to look after everybody, to do a beverage service, and he sat down with me. So again, in terms of what are the rules, I'm sure there's no rule about that. However, what he did do was leave the rest of the crew to look after the whole plane while he was with me. And it was amazing. So here's why I think this is relevant. At the time, I haven't read up and understand where WestJet is today, but at the time, they trusted people to know when to break the rules. when to make decisions for themselves. And look at the impact it had. I got home from Ottawa, from being in a hotel in my pajamas to on the front porch hugging my wife in under 3 hours, which is unheard of, right? Especially given as a drive at that end and a 1 hour drive at this end. It's unheard of to make that kind of time between Ottawa and here. And yet they did it because WestJet trusted them, their people, to know when to break the rules. So the people you work with, whether it's a team you're a peer in, or you're a leader of, whatever it might be, it could even be around the home, could be in community settings, wherever it is. Do you trust the people to know when to break the rules? Everybody can follow the rules. But do you trust them to know when to break the rules? Will you always agree with their decision? No, of course not. That's when you have a conversation, maybe a coaching conversation, maybe just a nice conversation to understand whatever it is. It's trusting people to know when they can break the rules. So what comes up for me is if you're sitting there going, no, I wouldn't trust them to know when to break the rules, maybe that's something to start working on when it comes to trust. What would it take for you to be able to trust them to break the rules? Trust, fairly big topic. We could go on in many different directions, and yet it's the key thing that I see over and over again in organizations that makes the difference between good teams and great teams. Trust. That's it for today. If you like this kind of thing, I invite you, please go to leadingforchange.ca and sign up for my newsletter, because every morning I provide just this type of little tidbit or thought. Have a great day. See you again tomorrow.